morning. The Assembly will now be in session. Several members are noticing the absence of a quorum. Thank you, ladies, for being here on time. Will the sergeants please prepare the chamber, contact the absent members. Clerk, please call the roll.
Adams, Amiano, Anderson, Arambula, Bass, Bell, Bill Berryhill, Tom Berryhill, Blakesley, Block, Blumenfield, Bradford, Brownlee, Buchanan, Caballero, Calderon, Carter, Chesbro, Conway, Cook, Cotto, Davis, De La Torre, De Leon, DeVore, Emerson, Ing, Evans, Fior, Fletcher, Fong, Fuentes, Fuller, Furatani, Gaines, Galgiani, Garrick, Gilmore, Hagman, Hall, Harkey, Hayashi, Hernandez, Hill, Huber, Huffman, Jeffries, Jones, Knight, Liu, Logue, Lowenthal, Ma, Mendoza, Miller, Monning, Nava, Nestande, Nilo, Nilsson, Norby, V. Manuel Perez, Portantino, Ruskin, Solis, Saldana, Silva, Skinner, Smythe, Solorio, Strickland, Swanson, Torlixon, Torres, Tarico, Tran, Valines, Yamada, Mr. Speaker.
I'd like to welcome our guests to the chamber today, and I would like to encourage the members who have not yet arrived at their desks to please make haste to be here. The women who are being honored, let me just let you know, I am Assemblywoman Lori Saldana. I am Speaker Pro Tem of the Legislature, which means that I preside over this House. I am also the Women's Caucus Chair for the Legislative Women's Caucus. We are the largest caucus, but not large enough. And I am very... And I want to welcome the women to the chamber, their families, their supporters. I see members of our National Guard here who are no doubt here in support of our speaker today. So again, I want to thank you all for being on time. I was a teacher before I was an assembly member, and I appreciate when people are in their chairs ready to go at the appointed hour. and guests, a quorum is present. Members and guests, a quorum is present. I would like to ask the members to please return to their desks and stand, along with all our guests in the chamber and in the gallery, to please stand for this morning's prayer. Our chaplain today is the Honorable Karen Bass, Speaker Emeritus of the California State Assembly. Speaker Emeritus Bass will now offer our prayer.
Dear God, as we honor and celebrate the outstanding women joining us here today, I am reminded of a poem by Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life from aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Thank you, God, for bringing these women into our lives and into the lives of all those whose pain they cool, whose aches they ease, and whose hearts they make whole. If, as President John F. Kennedy once said, here on earth, God's work must truly be our own, these amazing women we honor today show that your work is in very good hands indeed. Amen.
Thank you. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. This morning, before we get to the Pledge of Allegiance, we have a color guard. Please remain standing. We are joined by members of the Governor's and Adjutant General's own color guard from the California National Guard. Their California National Guard members Peggy Withers, Priscilla Sepulveda, Jamie Tools, and Barbara Kaiser. Members and guests, please remain standing. Color guard, please present the colors. We ask our guests and visitors in the gallery and in the chambers to please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Today's pledge will be led by Assemblywoman Audra Strickland. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order! Order! Please be seated. We move on now to the reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Wednesday, March 4th, 2010. The Assembly met at 9:30 a.m. Honorable Alberto Tirico, Assembly Member 20th District, presiding. Chief Clerk E. Dawson Wilson at the desk. Assistant Clerk Timothy Moreland reading. The roll was called. Adams, Amiano, Anderson, Arambula, Bell.
Mr. Tirico moves. Mr. Garrick seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentation of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read. Amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the Governor, there are none. And messages from the Senate, there are none. We move on now to motions and resolutions. Ms. Ma.
Madam Speaker, I request unanimous consent for Ms. Saldana to have guests and photographers on the floor and at the rostrum for the Assembly observance of Women's History Month.
Without objection. Members, we are preparing now, and guests, we are preparing now to move on to the presentation of the Women of the Year who have been invited here by each of you to be honored for their work and their commitment and everything that they do every day to make California the Golden State. In keeping with our previous practices with regard to this ceremony, the names of the honorees will be read in district order. At this time, members who represent the first 6 districts should retire to the rear of the chamber and prepare to escort their honorees. At the front, as you arrive at the front, the honorees will be presented by Assembly Speaker John Perez with a specially prepared certificate after they are escorted by their assembly member. As we continue to prepare, we are getting ready to begin. I would like to recognize some special guests. We have former member Bob Pacheco, who is here from Assembly District 60. Welcome. And welcome to your wife, who is being honored today as a Woman of the Year. All right, we are all assembled. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have the clerk read the names and accomplishments of our honorees for 2010.
From Assembly District 1, Ms. Betty Chin, escorted by Assemblymember Chesbro. For 23 years, Betty Chin has provided the Eureka homeless with sustenance and the message of love, charity, faith, and hope, for which she has recognized with the 2008 Minerva Award for Outstanding Service. Having survived as a homeless Chinese refugee, Betty is motivated by remembering those who benefited her. From Assembly District 2, Ms. Betty Quigley, escorted by Assemblymember Nielsen. Ms. Betty Quigley's tireless efforts as an elite member of the Salmon River Hotshot Crew in the Klamath National Forest, fighting fires in remote locations throughout Northern California, is worthy of the utmost praise. In addition, Becky has served as a volunteer coach and mentor, touching the lives of skiers across South Siskiyou County in junior high, high school, and community college. From Assembly District 3, Dottie Ray Sauter, escorted by Assemblymember Logue. Ms. Dottie Ray Sauter of Nevada County is a longtime business owner and pillar of the community. She has been an active supporter of local causes through her involvement with organizations such as the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, the California Republican Women Federated, and SOAR Misfits International of Grass Valley. Her outstanding spirit of civic engagement has served to inspire all those around her. From Assembly District 4, Ms. Amy Pilcher, escorted by Assemblymember Gaines. Ms. Amy Pilcher is the mother of 9 children, including the adoption of a substance abuse sibling of 6. As a direct result of her tireless efforts, the children have excelled beyond all expectations. All are near 4.0 students, black belts, Eagle Scouts, and are university bound. Amber lives in Loomis with her husband, John. From Assembly District 5, Miss Marcy Friedman, escorted by Assemblymember Nilo. A longtime Sacramento business owner and philanthropist, Miss Marcy Friedman is currently chairing the largest fundraising effort in the history of Sacramento's Crockett Art Museum. Marcy has also been a board member for the California Museum for History, Women, and the Arts, the Sacramento Region Community Foundation, the Leland Stanford Mansion Foundation, and was a founding board member of the American Leadership Forum. Her professional, community, and humanitarian involvement in the Sacramento region has been unparalleled. From Assembly District 6, Ms. Ramona Nicholson, escorted by Assemblymember Huffman. Born and raised on Nicholas Ranch in Sonoma County, Ramona Nicholson is now responsible for all aspects of their family-owned and operated vineyard and winery. She is held in high regard in the wine industry for her knowledge and expertise in all aspects of wine production and her volunteer work with the Sonoma Valley Vintners and Growers Alliance. Assemblymember Huffman is pleased to recognize Ramona as the 2010 Women of the Year for the 6th Assembly District. From Assembly District 7, Miss Lilybeth Pinpin, escorted by Assemblymember Evans. A well-respected educator, Lilybeth teaches high school biology and wrote the California Partnership Academy grant, which funded the 21st Century Biotech Academy at Hogan High School. She is the lead teacher for a fitness and health academy that promotes health wellness for the children and manages the cyber high credit recovery program and after school program. From Assembly District 8, Miss Rose Conroy, escorted by Assemblymember Yamada. Rose Conroy retired in February 2010 after 3 decades of distinguished service as a professional firefighter. For the past 15 years, she was the fire chief of Davis. She was the very first woman appointed chief of a municipal fire department in the state of California. From Assembly District 9, Miss Christina Mora, escorted by Assemblymember Jones. Her father's motto has been her anthem, "If you give, you get." She is a mentor to children and adults in the Sacramento community. As president of the Washington Neighborhood Center for 8 years, she saved it from collapse. Recipient of numerous community awards, she has volunteered with LULAC, Sacramento Housing Alliance, Sacramento Chamber of Commerce, 9/11 victims, and many more. From Assembly District 10, Ms. Rachel Michelin, escorted by Assemblymember Huber. Rachel Michelin succeeds in balancing raising young children and being very active in her community. She is the executive director of California Women Lead, a nonprofit, nonpartisan association that supports and trains women to be leaders in their communities. She chaired El Dorado County's Economic Advisory Committee, sat on the County Transportation Commission's Citizens Advisory Committee, and was appointed to the State Public Security Disciplinarian Review Committee. She lives in El Dorado Hills with her husband and 2 young daughters. From the Assembly 11th District, Miss Gloria Omanyan, escorted by Assemblymember Torlakson. In her 29 years of service as Chief of Staff for Tom Torlakson in her positions as County Supervisor, Assemblymember, and Senator, Gloria Omania has effectively served the public, helped to improve the lives of Contra Costa County residents, and been a trailblazer within the state's Filipino-American community. From Assembly District 12, Miss Marion Mann, escorted by Assemblymember Ma. Miss Marion Mann lives in Daly City. She serves on several boards and associations. Marion does outreach to the Daly City Senior Citizens Club and volunteers for Working Essentials by picking up and delivering donations from Costco. She is serving her 3rd term on the San Mateo County Commission on the Status of Women. From Assembly District 13, Ms. Esta Soler, escorted by Assemblymember Amiano. One of the world's foremost experts on violence against women and children, Esta Soler is a pioneer who founded the Family Violence Prevention Fund nearly 30 years ago and made it one of the world's leading violence prevention agencies. Under Soler's direction, the Family Violence Prevention Fund was a driving force behind the passage of the Violence Against Women Act of 1994. From Assembly District 14, Ms. Mabel F. Yee, escorted by Assemblymember Skinner. Ms. Mabel F. Yee spent 27 years in the tech industry. In 2008, she co-produced the documentary Engage Her, Getting Minority Women to Lead and Vote, which led to the launching of Engage Her, a national nonprofit organization that educates and motivates multicultural women to become politically and socially active. From Assembly District 15, Ms. Cindy Gershon, escorted by Assemblymember Buchanan. Cindy, a resident of Walnut Creek, is a respected community advocate for healthy living and founder of the Wellness City Challenge, an organization dedicated to the promotion of healthy nutrition. Through the challenge and her restaurant and catering company, Cindy focuses on teaching how to recognize the value of food and the importance of healthy eating. From Assembly District 16, Ms. Sharman Bach, escorted by Assemblymember Swanson. Ms. Sharman Bach, a deputy district attorney in Alameda County, has successfully prosecuted countless serious felons over her 21-year career. Using her brilliance, humanity, and commitment to advocate for the rights of children, Bach has become a nationally recognized expert on human trafficking and a role model for women throughout California. From Assembly District 17, Ms. Leslie Barranca Martin, escorted by Assemblymember Galgiani. Ms. Leslie Barranca Martin is on the Stockton City Council and served as vice mayor in 2007 and 2008. Her mission is to be tough on crime, improve education, and make Stockton an affordable and safe waterfront city. She is a criminal prosecutor with the San Joaquin District Attorney and has won awards for community activism. She's the proud mother of 2 children, Matthew and Gabriella, and earned her law degree from Hastings College of Law and an engineering degree from UC Berkeley. From Assembly District 18, the Honorable Rosa Rosie Rios, escorted by Assemblymember Hayashi. The first-generation Mexican-American Harvard graduate and economic development expert, U.S. Treasurer Rios was appointed by President Obama and counsels on matters relating to coinage, currency, and the production of financial instruments. Additionally, she serves as the Senior Advisor for Community Development and Public Engagement, promoting financial literacy and education. From Assembly District 19, Josefina Enriquez. Dr. Josefina R. Enriquez, a family practice, escorted by Assemblymember Hill. Dr. Josefina R. Enriquez, a family practice physician, sees over 5,000 patients a year, 85% of who are uninsured or dependent on low-income state or county care. In addition to her private practice, she runs a Rotacare free clinic. A pioneer, Josefina has the first women member of the Half Moon Bay Rotary Club, and she was inducted into the San Mateo County Women's Hall of Fame. From Assembly District 20, Miss Allison Wiscombe, escorted by Assemblymember Tarico. Dr. Allison Wiscombe was born in Bristol, England, and received her PhD from the University of Nottingham. Dr. Wiscombe immigrated to the U.S. in 1984 and worked for 26 years as a consultant in the agricultural biotechnology industry, with all 3 of her children attending Fremont's public schools. Dr. Wiscombe became heavily involved in the Parent-Teacher Association, serving under a decade at virtually all levels. She is currently the president of Peralta District PTA, serving Alameda County, as well as an education commissioner on the California State PTA Board of Managers, working for every child with one voice. From Assembly District 21, Ms. Faye McNair Knox, PhD, escorted by Assemblymember Ruskin. Dr. Faye McNair Knox, a Fulbright Scholar and Executive Director of one of East Palo Alto, leads efforts to enhance community development by providing jobs for hundreds of at-risk youth. She received the Excellence in Economic Development Award from the Community Development Institute and was inducted into Stanford University's Multicultural Alumni Hall of Fame. From Assembly District 22, Ms. Dolly Sandoval, escorted by Assemblymember Fong. Dolly is an educated public servant with over 20 years of community service in Silicon Valley. She has served as council member and mayor of Cupertino, chair of the Valley Transportation Authority, and as a board member of the Foothill De Anza Community College District. Currently, Dolly is a teacher at Los Gatos High School. From Assembly District 23, Ms. Hermelinda Sapien, escorted by Assemblymember Cotto. Ms. Sapien has dedicated her life to helping those most in need by providing them with marketable skills, training, and supportive services so that they can become self-sufficient. She is the CEO of the successful International Center for Employment Training. She has been recognized worldwide for her many contributions to society. From Assembly District 24, Ms. Cynthia Chang, escorted by Assemblymember Jim Bell Jr. Ms. Cynthia Chang has an outstanding record of public service over the last 2 decades. A resident of Saratoga for almost 25 years, she has been an active member of the League of Women Voters, Saratoga Rotary Club, Chinese Historical and Cultural Project, and the Hakanit Garden Foundation. She also has the distinction of being the first Asian American elected official in Saratoga, serving as school board trustee since 1994, first for the Saratoga Union School District, and now for the Los Gatos Saratoga Joint Union High School District. From Assembly District 25, Ms. Melinda Fleming, escorted by Assemblymember Tom Berryhill. Melinda Fleming is a former Tuolumne County High School teacher and current executive director for Tuolumne County Alliance for Resources and Environment. She has worked with TwoCare since 2004. In that time, she helped compile a public lands use plan for Tuolumne County and was named the 2006 Conservationist of the Year by the California Forestry Association. From Assembly District 26, escorted by Assemblymember Hill, Ms. Rima Barkett's daughter, Yasmin, is honored to accept on her mother's behalf. Rima is in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, visiting orphanage and school to determine her foundation, Architects of Peace, can enrich the children and can enrich children and students' lives. From Assembly District 27, Ms. Regina Mason, escorted by Assemblymember Monning. Ms. Regina Mason has been an outstanding community volunteer for over 20 years, advocating especially on behalf of children and the elderly. She is passionately committed to providing culturally appropriate services and pursuing fairness and equity in meeting the needs of the poor and underdeserved populations on the Monterey Peninsula. From Assembly District 28, Ms. Kay Felice, escorted by Assemblymember Caballero. Ms. Kay Felice is a farmer, fundraiser, board member, mom, volunteer, and president of Felice Farms in Hollister. Kay became the first female chair of the Grower Shipper Association of Central California in 2007. She is an advocate for a range of issues, including food safety, California water storage, and promoting healthy eating habits to reduce childhood obesity and diabetes. Devoted to making a difference in her community, Kay is active in her church, the Community Foundation for San Benito County, the YMCA, and the Kinship Center. From Assembly District 29, Miss Sally L. Frazier, escorted by Assemblymember Valines. Dr. Sally Frazier, elected for 4-year terms as Madera County Superintendent of Schools, has been a pioneer in delivering regional services in support of local school districts and established a career technical charter school. She was the first female county superintendent elected president of California County Superintendents Educational Services Association. From Assembly District 30, Ms. Maxine Bennett, escorted by Assemblymember Gilmore. Ms. Maxine Bennett is purpose-driven. She worked for the Hanford Elementary School District as a library technician and helped run the family business, Bennett and Bennett Irrigation Systems. Maxine has volunteered for the Carnegie Museum Board, Hanford Christian School Library, Armano Church of Christ, and served as president for the Republican Women. Maxine has been married to Gary Bennett for 46 years and has 2 children, Tyler, Amy, and a granddaughter, Zoe. From Assembly District 31, Miss Amy Arambula, escorted by Assemblymember Arambula. Amy is a strong advocate for those living in the Central Valley. She is forceful and outspoken advocate for those who have no voice, and a compassionate human being who never seeks recognition for her efforts. She freely gives her time and talents to making life better for those around her. From Assembly District 32, Miss Judith Tuttle McCarthy, escorted by Assemblymember Fuller. Miss Judy McCarthy's leadership in developing and supporting opportunities for women and girls is well known throughout through Kern County. Her work includes founding organizer of the Women and Girls Fund, creating Women Defining Philanthropy Awards, and spearheading the report on the status of women and girls. She is a wife, mother, and philanthropist extraordinaire. From Assembly District 33, Miss Mary Lou Baldwin, escorted by Assemblymember Blakesley. A foster and adopted parent to over 20 children, Mary Lou Baldwin provides intensive reunification support and care for medically fragile infants and children. She serves as a mentor and proves respect to fellow foster parents. She serves as president of the local Foster Parent Association and on the California State Foster Parent Association. From Assembly District 34, Miss Susan Shannon, escorted by Assemblymember Conway. Miss Susan Shannon, born and raised in Tulare, California, has dedicated her life to her hometown and surrounding areas. She joined the College of the Siskiyous Board of Trustees in 1999, held positions in California Women for Agricultural and Tulare County Children's Fair Fund. Sue was the Grand Marshal of the Tulare County Fair Parade in 1996 and received the Common Threads Award for Women in Agriculture. Sorry. From Assembly District 35, Ms. Bonnie Sanabia, escorted by Assemblymember Nava. Ms. Sanabia is a Goleta resident who works as an in-home supportive services provider for her 45-year-old son, who has been deaf, blind, and severely disabled since birth. A selfless caregiver, Ms. Sanabia is an example of the women in our state who do crucial work for their families and their communities and often go unnoticed. She is a silent hero, like thousands of other families and workers affected by the recent budget cuts to IHSS and other supportive services. Ms. Sanabia has already lost vital assistance and faces further reductions. From Assembly District 36, Ms. Jennifer Nelson, escorted by Assemblymember Knight. Jennifer owns and operates Steer and Steen in Palmdale. and the same chain she began working as hostess 25 years prior. Sterenstein feeds the local football team every Friday, remains open on Christmas to provide meals and gifts to the needy, opens its doors to fundraise through Stake Aid created by Jennifer. She's an exemplary community member, mother of 5 children, and has been married to her husband, Brett, for 17 and a half years. From Assembly District 37, Ms. Vicki Murphy, escorted by Assemblymember Strickland. Ms. Vicki Murphy works at Casa Pacifica, a children's crisis care shelter and residential treatment facility for abused, neglected, and at-risk children. She consistently goes above and beyond the call of duty in providing love and support for foster youth in Ventura County. Vicki lives in Westlake Village with her husband, Dennis, and has 5 children and 2 grandchildren. She also acts as a mother to 4 young, emancipated foster women, offering her support, advice, and love as they meet challenges of being out on their own and in the world. From Assembly District 38, Ms. Linda White, escorted by Assemblymember Smythe. Ms. Linda White's dedication to youth is unmatched. As CEO of the Simi Valley Boys and Girls Club, Linda has grown the club's membership from 100 members to over 3,500, raised a budget from $350,000 to $1.7 million, and continually pioneers new ways to serve an even greater number of children in the Simi Valley community. From Assembly District 39, Ms. Carolyn Rose, escorted by Assemblymember Fuentes. Ms. Carolyn Rose has dedicated her life to community involvement because she believes that this activity helps her to stay young, learn more about other cultures, and be a more empathetic person. Her volunteer work is dedicated to eliminate the treatment of women as second-class citizens, as well as give all women the opportunity to continue their education. As a co-founder to the nonprofit Men, Carolyn has seen how it has enabled many to get out of the bonds of poverty and become productive members of our society. From Assembly District 41, Ms. Nancy Greenstein, escorted by Assemblymember Brownlee. Ms. Nancy Greenstein is the Director of Police Community Services for the University of California Police Department, Los Angeles. A member of their senior management team for over 13 years, she was recently recognized nationally for her work on sexual assault prevention with the prestigious Jean Clary Award for Security on Campus. Nancy is also serving her 2nd term on the Santa Monica College Board of Trustees, taking a leadership role in many areas, including helping SMC initiate a new public policy institute to serve students, local leaders, and the community with respect to regional policy issues. From Assembly District 42, Ms. Joyce Clyfield, escorted by Assemblymember Fuhrer. Ms. Joyce Clyfield's backgrounds include over 20 years of community and civic involvement. As a longtime advocate of the Fairfax area, she works to bring people together and achieve a common good. Her active engagement in public education has focused on building community support and partnerships for local schools. From Assembly District 44, Ms. Pat Anderson, escorted by Assemblymember Portantino. Ms. Pat Anderson serves as the President and CEO of the La Canada Flint Ridge Chamber of Commerce. Deeply invested in her local community, Pat has been an active member of many organizations, including Kiwanis Club and the La Canada Flint Ridge Tournament of Roses. Additionally, Pat is a committed advocate for small business in San Gabriel Valley through participation in organizations such as the San Gabriel Valley Coalition of Chambers and the San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership. From Assembly District 45, Ms. Maria Lou Calanche, escorted by Assemblymember De Leon. Executive Director of Legacy LA, Lou is leading a campaign to raise $10 million to transform the weathered Armory building into a state-of-the-art facility for youth that will provide a center for cultural programs, recreational and academic opportunities, connecting youth with educators, local artists, and nature advocates through education and outreach programs, providing safe after-school recreational activities. From Assembly District 47, Ms. Betty Anderson, escorted by Assemblymember Bass. Ms. Betty Anderson has been an active member of the Assembly District 47 People Council, serving on both the Education and Health and Human Services Commission. In 2009-2010, Ms. Anderson volunteered at numerous district events, including the Green Jobs Fair and Symposium, 3rd Annual Well Body, Well Mind Health Fair, and Cast for College and Career Convention. Betty Anderson has been a long-time foster care advocate and has been a mentor to hundreds of youth who have gone on to become successful and active citizens. From Assembly District 48, Ms. Avari Smith, escorted by Assemblymember Davis. Ms. Avari Smith is 96 years old, director of Willing Workers, Inc., has distinguished herself as a leader in the community over 3 decades. She continuously fights and advocates for the disabled. Ms. Smith's tireless dedication to serve a multitude of the community's interests is exemplary, and we are grateful for her efforts. From Assembly District 49, Ms. Jeanette Chavez, escorted by Assemblymember Ng. Ms. Jeanette Chavez is the founder and current president of Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers, a county-wide hotline that encourages members of the community to assist law enforcement agencies in the fight against crime anonymously. Ms. Chavez embarked on this mission after her daughter, Samantha Salas, was tragically shot dead at the age of 16. Since then, Jeanette has vowed to dedicate every waking hour to the memory of her daughter and to find justice for victims and their loved ones. From Assembly District 50, Dr. Mary Stauffer. Dr. Mary Stauffer is 92, is a retired physician from Downey. She founded the Stauffer Foundation, which provides scholarships to local high school students and supports numerous educational efforts, such as the Character Counts. She belongs to the Downey Rotary and is an advisory board member for the Aerospace Legacy Foundation. There you go. Well, from Assembly District 51, Ms. Wanza Tolliver, escorted by Assemblymember Bradford. Ms. Wanza Tolliver is a small business owner and community activist from the city of Lawndale. She serves on the boards of the Lawndale Chamber of Commerce, Workforce Investment Board, and Community Watch Committee. Wanza is currently the president of the Lawndale Community Partners Club and former Kiwanis Club president. She is married to William Tolliver, and they have 2 children. From Assembly District 52, Ms. Brenda Olmos, escorted by Assemblymember Hall. Ms. Brenda Olmos is an outstanding community servant. She serves as the Public Safety Commissioner for the City of Paramount and a member of the Paramount Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Currently, she manages Apple Care Medical Center. From Assembly District 53, Ms. Liz West Odabashian, escorted by Assemblymember Liu. Ms. Liz West Odabashian has greatly contributed to the success of many community organizations through her professional fundraising services as president of the West Enterprises. She has also served on boards such as Association of Fundraising Professionals, Palos Verdes Junior Women's Club, Manhattan Beach Coordinating Council, El Segunda Chamber of Commerce, and Kiwanis. From Assembly District 54, Miss Lisa Tonson, escorted by Assembly Member Lowenthal. Miss Lisa Tonson is a longtime crane operator at the Port of Los Angeles and active member of the ILUW Local 13. She is the co-chair of the ILW Holiday Events Committee. Lisa is in charge of collecting food, toys, and funds for the ILW Thanksgiving Feed the Community Day and the Christmas Party and Toy Giveaway. She has helped secure over 15,000 baskets of food and thousands of toys to benefit working families in San Pedro, Long Beach, and Wilmington through tough economic times when work at the ports is scarce. From Assembly District 55, Ms. Rosalind E. Ibanez, escorted by Assembly Member Furutani. Community activist Rosalind Ibanez has been the Filipino American Library Board President for 10 years and co-authored Filipinos in Carson and the South Bay. She serves on the Los Angeles County Community Action Board. Rose works for the City of Los Angeles Housing Department as project coordinator for the Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program. From Assembly District 56, Ms. Rosa Cueva, escorted by Assemblymember Mendoza. Ms. Cueva currently works at Cerritos High School as para-educator for the special education. Before that, she worked for the Artesia High School for over 20 years, serving as community liaison, where she would aim at connecting parents and educators to the larger community. Her impact has spread across several cities in the 56th Assembly District. She has spent countless hours consulting with parents and teachers on social and educational issues impacting the community. From Assembly District 57, Dr. Barbara Dickerson, escorted by Assemblymember Hernandez. Dr. Barbara Dickerson is the president of the Azusa Unified School District's Board of Education. She is co-founder of the Azusa Coordinating Council and serves in leadership roles at the Azusa Women's Club and Sorority of Azusa Glendora. Dr. Dickerson is also board president and lead executive team coordinator of our neighborhood homework house. From Assembly District 58, Ms. Janet Hinkie, escorted by Assemblymember Calderon. Ms. Janet Hinkie is the former mayor of Whittier and a current member of the YMCA Corporate Board of Directors, as well as a member of the YMCA Executive Committee. She has served as a school board member for 16 years, a city council member, teacher, and music director. Ms. Hinkie has also provided for hours of volunteer service to a multitude of other organizations, including Whittier Presbyterian Church and the YMCA, which she has volunteered for over 14 years. She currently resides in the city of Whittier with her husband Robert and has 5 children. From Assembly District 59, Ms. Debbie McGee, escorted by Assemblymember Adams. Ms. Debbie McGee has been a first and second grade teacher with the Apple Valley Unified School District for 23 years. She serves her community by visiting nursing homes and convalescent homes with their certified therapy dogs as a leader of her local 4-H club. Debbie takes her students to food banks and charitable organizations in order to foster a sense of service into her children. From Assembly District 60, Ms. Gail Pacheco, escorted by Assemblymember Hagman. Gail, a business owner, is recognized throughout the state for leadership and active service in innumerable social, philanthropic, and political organizations at the community, regional, and state levels. She is keenly aware of issues facing California and steps forward by accepting the title of chair in nearly all groups. From Assembly District 61, Ms. Peggy Bonis, escorted by Assemblymember Torres, a retired senior who has accumulated over 3,700 hours of service volunteering for Meals on Wheels. She coordinates 30 meals daily and receives calls at home 7 days a week. She personally visits each client to determine their nutritional needs and is often their only link to the outside world. From Assembly District 62, Miss Mary Ruth Townsend, escorted by Assemblymember Carter. From the era of segregation to today, Mary Ruth Townsend of San Bernardino advocates on behalf of the vulnerable and less fortunate in her community, and through her oversight and financial stewardship, she is credited with the continued success of the Precinct Reporter, a leading African-American newspaper founded by her late husband. From Assembly District 63, Miss Virginia Blumenthal, escorted by Assemblymember Emerson. Virginia has been recognized as one of the best lawyers in America. She is the current president of the Riverside Community College District Board of Trustees and has been the recipient of the NAACP's Law and Justice Award, the Athena Award, the Soroptimist Gold Key, along many other awards and recognitions. From Assembly District 64, Ms. Peggy Cravens, escorted by Assemblymember Nestande. Ms. Peggy Cravens is a former child singing star who today enjoys giving other young people a chance to succeed. Cravens was named by the Desert Sun in 2002 as one of the 75 residents making a significant impact on the Coachella Valley. Palm Springs Life named her one of the most dynamic women in the desert in 2005. From Assembly District 65, Ms. Shannon Lucchino, escorted by Assemblymember Cook. Ms. Shannon Lucchino is an especially active member of the Moronga Basin. She has been the president of the local Boys and Girls Club and current president of Rotary International. Shannon is heavily involved with her local church, the Relay for Life, and with many agencies involved with children with disabilities. In Shannon's mind, her greatest achievement is being the mother of 3 outstanding children, triplets, Alessa, Nico, and Reed. Shannon works diligently to advocate on behalf of programs that direct their focus towards special needs children, as 2 of her children have special needs. From Assembly District 66, Ms. Lynn Craig, escorted by Assemblymember Jeffries. Ms. Lynn Craig is the co-director of the Eddie D. Smith Senior Citizen in Riverside and sits on the Riverside County Board of Education. She chairs the Jurupa Senior Advisory Committee, a board of directors member of the Riverside County Foundation on Aging, and past president of the Jurupa Rotary Club. From Assembly District 67, Ms. Janie Anderson, escorted by Assemblymember Silva. Ms. Janie Anderson is recently retired from the small business world, where she and her husband Stan owned and operated a successful local restaurant. Jenny is an active member of the Seal Beach Republican Women Federated and donates much of her time to several local church charities. She has been married to her husband Stan for 45 years and has raised 3 wonderful children. From Assembly District 68, Ms. Chris Murray, escorted by Assemblymember Tran. Ms. Chris Murray brings nearly 20 years of experience on behalf of Orange County, securing regulatory relief, vital infrastructure funding, and programs to expand economic development in Anaheim. She is the former vice president of Orange County Business Council, vice chair of Anaheim Public Utility, Anaheim's Water District Board member, and executive director of Orange County Transportation Authority. From Assembly District 69, Ms. Martha Baker, escorted by Assemblymember Solorio. Ms. Martha Baker has been an educator for 40 years. Her career has been dedicated to serving students from disadvantaged backgrounds, always seeking innovative ways to raise the bar for their achievement. Her school is the flagship school for the Mind Institute math program, and she is the current principal of the year for Orange County. From Assembly District 70, Ms. Clara Honey, escorted by Assemblymember DeVore. Originally from Colombia, Ms. Clara Honey came to California from Hawaii in 1994. Over the years, she has been an active member of several local organizations that support current and former members of the U.S. military. She has participated in Operation Independence, Operation Gratitude, and the 211 Adopt a Marine program. She also volunteers in local schools and at the Senior Citizen Center in Irvine. She and her husband, a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, currently reside in Tustin. From Assembly District 71, Ms. Sally Carlson, escorted by Assemblymember Miller. Ms. Sally Carlson is an active member in her community of Corona. Her community involvement and volunteer work display her passion and commitment to the education of children and those who are in need, such as her involvement at the Corona Norco Settlement House, Hospitality Place in Norco, and the Big Sister program. Representing Assembly District 72, Ms. Freydel Bushala, escorted by Assemblymember Norby. Ms. Freydel Bushala came to this country from Nicaragua as a small child, teaching herself English. She is the proud mother of 3 boys, George, Khalil, and Dylan. In addition to owning a small insurance business for 11 years, she volunteers at her son's high school, hosts issue forums at her home, and is involved in numerous charitable community events. From Assembly District 73, Ms. Ellen Stoltmeister, escorted by Assemblymember Harkey. Ms. Ellen Stoltmeister, along with her husband and 2 daughters, has been a resident of Oceanside for 19 years, a dedicated community volunteer. She has been a member of the board of the Oceanside Museum of Art and the Women's Resource Center. She has also volunteered with the Brother Bino Foundation, KOCT, Mission San Luis Rey, Moonlight Angeles, North County Health Services, and Tri-City Medical Center. From Assembly District 75, Ms. Tiffany Lynch, escorted by Assemblymember Fletcher. Between the hours of 9 and 5, Tiffany directs Time Warner San Diego's philanthropic outreach, but her investment in the community extends well beyond the work day as she volunteers, promotes literacy, and advises nonprofit organizations through San Diego. She is a loving mom, a devoted daughter, and a person who daily inspires others to live a life of service. From Assembly District 77, Ms. Jillian Hanson Cox, escorted by Assemblymember Anderson. Jillian currently serves as the El Cajon City Council member and is the controller of an international multi-million-dollar manufacturing company, Century Design, Inc. She donates her time and money to nonprofit and community service organizations. Jillian was named 2007 El Cajon Citizen of the Year for her sacrifice and dedication to her community for the year 2007. From Assembly District 78, Ms. Arlie Ricasa, escorted by Assemblymember Block. Ms. Arlie Ricasa is an elected official, educator, mother, wife, and community volunteer. She is the president of the Sweetwater Union High School District School Board, director of student development at the Southwestern College, and president of the NAAC project. Arlie Ricasa was awarded as one of the 20 outstanding Filipino Americans in the United States and Canada. From Assembly District 79, Ms. Grace Kojima, escorted by Assemblymember Salas. Ms. Grace Kojima retired as superintendent of San Isidora School District in 2004. Since retiring, she has continued giving back to the community as a member of the San Isidro Chamber of Commerce, San Isidro Women Club, and Hearts and Hands Working Together, a nonprofit that provides food and clothing to families in need. From Assembly District 80, Ms. Rosanna Bayon Moore, escorted by Assembly Member Emmanuel Perez. Rosanna is currently a member of the El Centro Regional Medical Center Board of Trustees. She is a former mayor of El Centro and was instrumental in establishing the Imperial Valley Asthma Awareness Walk. Ms. Moore is married to Dean Seringalas and has 2 children, Vasilos and Jimmy. She is a tireless advocate for her community and is a dedicated public servant and mother. From Assembly District 74, Ms. Christy Elam Manry, escorted by Assemblymember Garrick. Ms. Christy Elam Manry started working in the family business 30 years ago. The family owns 10 Gold Crown Hallmark stores throughout San Diego and supports their local communities. For the 30th anniversary of the business, Christy organized a company cookbook and has sold about 800 copies, with some proceeds going to Becky's House, a safe haven for domestic abuse victims, and has 2 beautiful daughters, Shannon and Elisa. From Assembly District 46, Ms. Patricia Zarate, escorted by Speaker John A. Perez. Ms. Patricia Zarate discovered her passion for cooking at a very young age. While working with Greg Boyle in the 1980s, she had a vision of running a kitchen where she would teach young gang-involved women to run all aspects of a restaurant, thereby giving them marketable skills and hope for the future. From this vision, Homegirl Cafe was born, an extension of the Homeboy Industries.
What a remarkable group of women we have before us today. At this point, I am appointing a committee On escort, to escort our keynote speaker to the rostrum, will the escort committees please retire to the rear of chamber as their names are called? Assembly members Conway, Huber, Buchanan, and Torres. Please escort Brigadier General Mary Kite to the rostrum. It is our honor to have such a distinguished speaker here before us. Before I invite her to address us, I want to give a little bit of background on what it is that we are recognizing today, how we have come to this point. This is our 30th anniversary of the Chamber of the Legislature marking Women's History Month. What once started as an idea with the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women was nationally recognized in 1980. And since then, National Women's History Week would expand to a month. And in the presidential message of 1980, President Jimmy Carter designated March 2nd through the 8th, 1980 as National Women's History Week. And he said at that time, from the first settlers who came to our shores, from the first American Indian families who befriended them, men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often, the women have been unsung, and sometimes their contributions unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. I ask my fellow Americans to recognize this heritage with appropriate activities during National Women's History Week, March 2nd through the 8th, 1980. I urge libraries, schools, and community organizations to focus their observances on the leaders who struggled for equality: Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, Lucy Stone, Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Harriet Tubman, and Alice Paul. Because understanding the true history of our country will help us to comprehend the need for full equality under the law for all people. So from that beginning, 30 years ago, we are here today recognizing the accomplishments of so many distinguished, powerful, talented, creative, nurturing, all of those adjectives describing the women that are here before us today. Each March during Women's History Month, we celebrate and honor these remarkable women who have contributed to our state. And it was with a sense of respect and celebration that we set aside a day, this day, to recognize and pay tribute to the California's most heroic women and the many ways in which their lives and their work are making this state a better place to live. We who serve you here in the state capitol are honored that you have accepted our invitation to join us. The ceremony is offered as an acknowledgement of the work that you do every day, your individual dedication and commitment to make California, as I said before, a truly golden state. We take a respectful pause from our normal order of business to commemorate your achievements, your leadership, your courage, and your many contributions to society. Each of you exemplifies what it means to be the best as a Californian and as a woman. We have a very special guest here today, and before I introduce her, I have to comment a little bit about an event that took place last night to award a woman for the first time in the history of the Academy of Arts and Sciences the Director of the Year Award, Kathryn Bigelow. She won that award. She was only one of 4 women who have even been nominated in the history of the Academy Awards, and she did it portraying the battles that are taking place far away. There were not many women in The Hurt Locker, if any of you saw the movie. And yet her portrayal of the sacrifices that men and women are making during this time of war was extraordinary. And it won not only Best Picture, Best Director, Best Sound Editing, many accomplishments which I thought was just excellent to occur during Women's History Month. But what also struck me is the depictions of women in warfare are few and far between. And unfortunately, this movie focused on men as well. Our speaker today is a woman who serves in our National Guard. And she knows, as so many of us know, that it is the women as well as men who are putting their lives on the line every day, far from home, in Afghanistan and Iraq. And in fact, they are becoming critical, absolutely essential, in order for us to continue with those deployments. And yet when they come back, we don't always have the reserves and services that we need to help them reintegrate back into our communities. One of the focuses of the Women's Caucus is on women in the military and military families. And for all of those reasons, it is my honor to introduce Brigadier General Mary Kite, whom last month Governor Schwarzenegger appointed Brigadier General as appointed as the first female Adjutant General of the California National Guard and the first African American female National Guard Adjutant General in the nation. So quite historic. General Kite has served the California National Guard for nearly 25 years. We applaud her work on behalf of all military servicemen and women and their families, and we are very honored to have her speak today as our keynote speaker. General Kite.
Thank you so much. I was just thanking her so much for that introduction, and I will tell you that I know all of you are very much concerned about not only women in the military, but also men in the military and our families. So I'm looking forward to continuing that discussion later on in the day, and I will tell you that that's why I do have a group of soldiers and airmen with me today, so that they can also share their stories. But Assembly members, honorees, distinguished guests, service members, and I know we have veterans out there, families and friends, it is an honor and a privilege to be here today as we celebrate the 2010 California State Assembly Woman of the Year ceremony. My name is Mary Kite, and I'm the Adjutant General for the California National Guard, and I bring you greetings from more than 20,000 soldiers and airmen in the California National Guard, but also our civilian employees that are a part of our military department. Members of your Guard, citizens of California, our soldiers and airmen, defend our country. And we do that in addition with the work that we do with our civilian employees to take care of us when we deploy. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to speak during this ceremony, and thank you for the valuable support you provide the soldiers and airmen in the California National Guard. And really, service members from all branches of the military, all around the world, and also their families. Each one of you demonstrate to us your commitment, not only a commitment to the service members, but also to the families. And it proves that our service to this great country is truly appreciated by the American people. And Assembly members are taking time out today to give us recognition. And really, it's the theme of women making history. And we've done that throughout the years. Assembly Speaker Emeritus Karen Bass made history for women, the first African American woman and the first Democrat to serve as Speaker of the California Assembly. She is also the first African American woman in the country to serve in the role of Speaker of a state assembly. I'd like to introduce you to one of my general officers in the audience in the back there from the California National Guard, another woman making history, the first female California Army National Guard General Officer, Brigadier General Charlotte Miller. But you know, when you think about it, all of us are descendants of great women. But let me go back in history just a little bit. In 1863, at age 19, a woman known only as Emily ran away from home and joined the drum corps of a Michigan regiment. The regiment was sent to Tennessee, and during the struggle for Chattanooga, a minie ball pierced the side of this young soldier. Her wound was fatal, and her gender was then disclosed. At first, she refused to disclose her real name, but as she lay dying, she consented to dictate a telegram for her father in Brooklyn. "Forgive your dying daughter. I have but a few moments to live. My native soil drinks my blood. I expect to deliver my country, but the fates would not have it so. I'm content to die. Pray, forgive me." Another woman making history. And while our military is rich with history, both men and women's history, today is a real opportunity for me. It's unique for me, and I'm just so pleased to have this opportunity now to turn my attention to the honorees and blend our military experience with the experiences that our honorees have shared with us. So honorees, I know that you respect differences. Overall, collectively, you've reached out to men, women, our youth, our children, our disabled, cultural diversity, and the list goes on. You know who you are. Honorees are dynamic leaders concerned about the welfare of our citizens. You know who you are. Your mentorship, those efforts produce results. You know your results, and you know who you are. Honorees, you are actively and visibly involved in your community. In some instances, you travel throughout California telling your stories, and there are those of you that go across the nation telling that same story. You deliver goods or support to those in need. You build businesses, allowing positive opportunities, meaningful encouragement, or in the military, as we say, a way ahead to those who are watching. You create a foundation that others can use. You shape lives, turning individuals one by one into productive citizens. You know who you are. Honorees, you are also approachable. Your demeanor enables people at all levels to communicate resolutions or assist you with the resolutions that you've identified. Again, you know who you are. And honorees, thanks to your assembly members, now we know who you are. Your assembly members found you and brought you here for this celebration. And this celebration is all about you. I join you in this celebration. Military members present here today also join you in this celebration. You are women making history. The United States has always stood for freedom and liberty, and we have always been willing to defend our country and build this country, whether we're in uniform or not. We continue to do what we do best, and that's illustrated in all of your accomplishments, honorees. Thank you so much for everything you've done. So assembly members, honorees, service members and veterans, families and friends, children, because I saw some children here too. Thank you very much for all that you do for this great country. God bless you, and God bless America.
Okay, we need to do, okay. So once again, on behalf of the California Legislative Women's Caucus and the members of this House, I'd like to thank all of our special guests for joining us here today and extend congratulations to each of the honorees. The Women's Caucus would like to invite all the honorees and their guests to a reception in their honor in the basement cafeteria, the Eureka Room, at 2:30 p.m. And this concludes our ceremony. At this point, we have a little bit of business we need to take up. So I would like to ask that our honorees please exit the chamber. You can exit to the rear of the chamber and let us do the people's business. But once again, thank you so much for being here with us today. we only have a few items of business to take up, but we do need everyone to return to the chamber. So if you are within an earshot, please return to your seats. We need to do some business before we can join our ladies. Also, I have been made aware that there are some typos on the resolutions, and we will make corrections as necessary for the certificates that were given out today. Members, we are prepared to take up business. In order to do that, we need to recess regular session for purpose of convening the 8th extraordinary session. Regular session is recessed. We are now, without objection, we will substitute the prayer pledge and other opening procedures in the regular session for those items in the 8th extraordinary session. Members, we have a few items of business. We are now in 8th extraordinary session. I've also been asked to announce that the reception for the Women of the Year is from 2 o'clock to 3:30. So it is now 12:39. If we do not conclude our business soon, we will not be able to go and join with our honorees. Members, we have two bills to take up for third reading today. File item 20, SB 29 by Senator Steinberg regarding furloughs. Mr. De La Torre, I have been informed, will take that up. We also have file item 21, SB 32 by Senator Wolk on tax conformity. I need to know who is presenting on that bill. I understand Mr. Calderon is taking up that bill. Without ado, members, we will now move to file item 20, SB 29. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 29 by Senator Steinberg, an act relating to public employment.
Mr. De La Torre, you may open.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Edward R. Murrow said that our major obligation is not to mistake slogans for solutions. Back in the budget of last year, the governor pushed for furloughs to save money in the general fund. The problem with that is that many of our departments and agencies are not general fund agencies or departments. They get money from the federal government, or they get money from fees that are collected to provide a specific service. The purpose of state government is to serve people, workers, business owners, patients, students, litigants, consumers, and most importantly, our taxpayers. Under our current circumstances, we all understand that we need to tighten our belts and make government function within its means. However, shutting the door on state government to make a political point is counterproductive. It punishes California residents and businesses, and it absolutely does not fix the general fund deficit. SB 29, which is similar to my AB 1215 in regular session that I introduced back in September, addresses his executive order and will outlaw furloughs at any state agency or department where the employees being furloughed are funded by at least 95% by sources other than the general fund, and exempts all employees of the Franchise Tax Board and the Board of Equalization in order to make sure that the revenues come in that will help our budget situation. So this common sense measure, and I know that that phrase gets overused on this floor, if you have a general fund problem, then you need general fund solutions. There is no reason to drag in special funded agencies and federally funded agencies into the mix on these furloughs. I urge your aye vote to eliminate the furloughs at special funded and federally funded agencies and departments.
Thank you, Mr. De La Torre. Before we move on, members, many of you, please check that your key is in. Many of you have not put your keys in, and we will be voting today. Mr. Jones.
Madam Speaker, members, I rise in support of this measure. Let me be absolutely clear. Furloughing employees who are paid for by the special funds that fund these employees provides no savings to the state of California. But what it does do is harm our economy. Furloughing these employees has impeded the ability of small, medium, and large businesses to get the permits and licenses they need to carry out business activity in this great state. It's impeded the ability of this state to approve public works and other construction projects that are a necessary part of our effort to get this economy back on the road to recovery. And it's prevented our ability to provide unemployment benefits to the many unemployed here throughout the state who are struggling to hold on to their homes and their lives. Now, this bill also tackles what is perhaps the stupidest part of the furloughs, and that is the furlough of the very people whose job it is to collect revenue to keep the doors of the state open and operating. The furlough of revenue-generating employees at the Board of Equalization and the Franchise Tax Board. Now, a recent report from the Senate Office of Oversight and Outcomes says that for every dollar the state thought it was saving furloughing Board of Equalization and Franchise Tax Board employees, we actually lost $6.36 at the Board of Equalization and $7.15 at the Franchise Tax Board. Now, you don't have to go very far to see the impact of these furloughs. Just walk outside here into my district and see what's happening. See the small and medium-sized businesses that are closed because we don't provide requisite income to the people who are working for this state so they can spend money in the economy. And that's happening in community after community across the state where state employees have been impacted. I rise in strong support of this measure. It is a common sense measure, and it's time to put these furloughs to rest. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Harkey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I rise to oppose this. I was in the committee where it was being heard, and the Democrat analysis actually said it would cost the state money. That was their analysis because we were called into the rules room, so I was able to view that. Also, I spoke to several state employees in my office, and I asked them, I said, you know, how do I explain to my people in my district when, in fact, they are being laid off? And I have not seen that at the state level at all. How do I explain this to them? So I said, I understand, you know, nobody wants to be furloughed and nobody wants to be laid off, but would you support a hiring freeze? Yes, that was the answer. We could reduce employees by attrition. Yes, that was the answer. Would you accept a reduced budget for the overall department and allow the department heads to manage the funds and figure out where the savings are? And again, it was yes. But I have not seen any of those measures here. The state employees want to help out, but we are not using them for solutions. We are dictating what it is they can and cannot do. And a furlough is a lot better than being laid off. And I think everyone understands that. But, you know, we have to make some considerations here. We have people unemployed. We have a huge unemployment figure, actually raised this month. I believe it's 12.5% now. And it's 30 and 40% in some areas. So I beg you, legislatures, to please be reasonable about this. It's not the furlough, but it's the lack of the layoff, the lack of letting the employees manage their money so that they can make the savings that we need. I think these are all things that we need to look into in the future, because I had 3 different groups of public employees, and they all agreed that this would be a good idea and it would work for them. So I ask you, I know this bill will pass because I know you have the votes, but I ask you to please call your public employees in and allow them to have some ownership in the state. We're all members of this state, and they have ways that they can save money in their departments. And if it's not laying people off, attrition works for them, and if it's not furloughing, then they know how to save money in their departments. They do. They've told me. One of them was spending $300 million this year because they had to get it out because it wasn't going to be, otherwise they wouldn't get it back again. So, and they think that's wrong. The people of this state, the state employees, think that's wrong. So I beg you to please, let's get them into the process here, department by department. I think you'd find a much rewarding solution that would make us all happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harkey. Mr. Swanson.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I rise in support of SB 29 for all of the obvious reasons that it is important for us to have those state workers on the job that are being paid for by other sources and that also are collecting revenue for us in the state. But I would also ask us as we go forward to think about some of those other employees in the state that are saving us money because they are scientists or engineers that are working to make sure that we as a state are safe and that the right inspections are taking place. And so as we evaluate going forward this pool of state workers that are on furlough, there are many state workers that are providing us such a valuable service. They, in fact, are saving us money and saving the state money in the long run. So I rise in support of this bill. I commend Senator Steinberg for putting it forward, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Ms. Huber.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I rise in support of this bill as well. Look, everyone agrees we have to tighten our belts, and I think state employees need to be at the table with us when we do that. But there's a smart way to do it and an illogical way to do it. The current furlough policy actually costs us more money than we're saving because we are furloughing employees whose job it is to make sure that the taxpayers who already owe money to the state pay those bills. And making it more difficult for the state to collect the money that's already owed to us just puts us in a worse financial position. Additionally, it's costing us money with federal government programs where we say, yes, we, the state of California, agree that we will do this program, and the federal government says we'll give you X amount of dollars to do this particular program, and we are not doing it. We're taking a day off and not doing it, and as a result are unable to draw down the federal funds for things like processing disability claims. We are losing, and if you look at your analysis that everybody has at your desk, we are losing $10 million per month in federal funds just for failing to process the disability claims. We're getting this huge backlog because we're furloughing those employees even though it is not saving us one penny of our budget deficit. Additionally, I think that the special funds is equally compromising a promise that we made to the taxpayers in California, that we will provide you with, say, recycling centers, and they will be open, and you pay your fees for going to put your stuff at the dumps, but now we're closing those facilities because they are part of a special fund. We're furloughing them. We're not providing the services, even though the money is already being paid for those services to be open. And I think this bill is a win-win where we're winning in getting additional money for California. We're winning to provide more services to the taxpayers that are already expecting to see those services, and it is not costing us a penny out of the general fund obligation that we currently have to close a $20 billion budget deficit. So if logic doesn't prevail on this, I don't know how we can say that we're being common sense about our approach to cutting the budget and tightening our belts, but at the same time doing it wisely. So I urge your support.
Thank you, Ms. Huber. Mr. Calderon.
Madam Speaker, members, I rise in support of this measure. I don't understand any opposition to it. It affects only special funds, federal funds, or fee-supported agencies, which don't even impact the general fund. When we try to balance our budget, we have to balance our budget by finding how much money in our general fund we can use for health, welfare, and education. But all these other state programs, like many environmental programs and many other regulatory programs, they're fee-supported, or they are supported by some special fund. So to say we're going to furlough every state employee, including those funded by special fund, general fund, or federal funds, is not only losing money, it's just really, it doesn't make any sense, because you're not going to save that much money as far as the general fund is concerned. But I'm rising in support of this bill in addition to that because it exempts FTB and BOE. The Federal Franchise Tax Board has estimated the state loses $600 million a year because of the furloughed employees. How can this make any sense to anybody? How can it make any sense? And there are similar numbers for BOE. If this was my bill, I would have added EDD, because they can't even get unemployment checks out to the people who need it most. Think about that. The state of California cannot even get unemployment checks out to people who need help in the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. If we can't do that, then what good are we? If we can't do that, what good are we? And a big part of that problem are the furloughed employees. So I just don't understand a party line vote on this one. I don't think it accomplishes anything, and it makes no sense. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. De La Torre, you may close.
Thank you. I want to clarify that Employment Development Department is included in this because it's significant federal funds. So right now we are furloughing EDD employees, and they are getting further and further behind, and the appeals and the checks are being dragged out longer and longer for all those people who are suffering out there up and down the state. Another department that would be subject to this legislation is the state architects. All of those projects in all of our districts up and down the state that are waiting for their plans to be approved so that they can get the shovels in the ground are waiting because we're furloughing the workers, because the plans are not getting done, because this whole thing is dragging out. And guess what? State architects are special funded. They are funded by the fees that are paid by the departments, the agencies, the folks who need the work done. We are not providing the work that is being paid for under our current furlough system. And it's not like the governor did not acknowledge that not all departments and agencies are subject to this. He specifically exempted the Highway Patrol, 911 dispatchers, Department of Forestry and Fire Protection during fire season, the Public Utilities Commission, the Legislative Counsel Bureau, and the Bureau of State Audits. They were all exempted from the furlough. So we're not going into uncharted territory here. It was foreseen in the legislation last year, in the budget last year. All we are saying is let us be commonsensical about what we're doing here. Let us make sure that those state workers that are in all of our districts, not just here in Sacramento, in all of our districts that are doing good work for the people of California, that they're able to do it, because there is no significant budget savings. There's no budget savings in most of these departments and agencies, no general fund savings to be had by keeping them at home. I urge your aye vote.
All discussion and debate having ended, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the votes. Ayes 54, noes 7. The measure carries. Mr. De La Torre,
Request immediate transmittal to the Senate.
clerk will note. Without objection. We move on to file item 21, SB 32, by Senator Wolk, to be presented by Mr. Calderon. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 32 by Senator Wolk and others, an act relating to taxation.
You may open, Mr. Calderon.
Yes, Madam Speaker, in numbers, this is a measure that passed off this floor with 44 votes last year, was subsequently vetoed by the governor. But it has changed, and it's the same vote, same bill, with two exceptions. And I'll get to those in a second. Let me tell you what it's about. First of all, it's a conformity bill, conforms state law to federal law. It provides much needed relief to homeowners who have their homes foreclosed on, and the value of the home is less than what the value of the contract was with the bank. The banks don't get that extra money because California doesn't allow deficiency judgments. So in other words, your house, if you have a loan for $500,000, your house is now worth $400,000 because property values have dipped and the bank forecloses, they don't get to come after you for $100,000 in terms of their contract. But the FTB does. The Federal Franchise Tax Board considers that income, and they tax people whose homes have been taken away from them and foreclosed on. And the federal government exempts those. So that's what this bill does. It conforms to federal law. It exempts those. It ensures for solar projects, it ensures that federal grants that are given for projects, stimulus grants, are not considered income and therefore not taxed by FTB. It exempts public safety employees from early withdrawal penalty provisions. Lots of times they can retire under federal law sooner than state law. It also provides that any benefit given to an emergency medical services volunteer firefighters, if they get any benefit under federal law, it's not taxed. Under state law, it is, and so we conform to that. Now, the two provisions that are different is this. It adds, this bill has a penalty provision. If you overstate your refund, right now under current law, it's one free bite at the apple. If you get caught, you just then turn around and file a new return. This bill follows federal law and imposes a penalty if you overstate your refund and you don't have a reasonable basis for it. Now, initially, we exempted taxpayers under the income level of $250,000. But now I amended this on the floor, and now if you file single filer, you're exempt if you make $10 million or less. You file jointly, you're exempt if you make $20 million or less. So what this does is that this bill now, in terms of that penalty provision, only applies to 50 major corporations in this state. It helps small businesses because if you're a sole proprietorship, you're an LLC, or you're an LLP, or a partnership, you generate your losses through your income, and you make statement of your refund through your income, and therefore this does not penalize small business. Only major corporations. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. Mr. DeVore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. There are two main issues that I have with this measure. Number one, it raises some taxes and lowers others. And as a result, it is a violation of Article 13 of the California Constitution. Now, we do have a Legislative Council letter from 1981 that opines that that is not the case. But that's a Legislative Council letter in the face of the 1978 Proposition 13, which enacted Article 13 of our Constitution. If some of these tax increases are a good idea, as well as some of the tax cuts, they should be broken out separately so that this body can vote on them as individual bills. I'm sure that your Republican colleagues would be more than happy to vote for some of the tax cut measures. Now, this purports to be a federal conformity bill. One of the individual measures that should be in this bill that is not is conformity with the federal tax law on health savings accounts. We have been trying for years to allow for the tax deductibility of setting aside savings to go toward individual medical expenses, health savings accounts. And as it is, California is now, I think, the last of 3 states that does not have conformity with the federal rules on health savings accounts. Now, one last issue that I think is very important. You heard the author talk about how he had an amendment that increased the threshold for these penalties for people who inadvertently don't withhold enough for their taxes, and that now it's been narrowed to a small handful of corporations. The problem with this is that you can have, when you're a large corporation, you can have federal refunds, you can have changes in the book value of different things going on in your corporation, and through acts that are very complex, they can conspire to increase your tax burden. And if you had indicated that your tax was going to be A and it went up to B, under the provisions now that we're about ready to vote on, you would end up getting a 20% penalty. You would have to pay that penalty first before you could even try to appeal it. And the appeal itself is basically unappealable. It's an administrative process whereby you have no choice. And what will end up happening because of this is it is yet one more signal that we are sending to the employers of the state of California that you are not welcome in this state, that in fact you are only viewed as a source of revenue for the state of California, rather than a vital engine of economic development providing jobs for the hardworking men and women of this state. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that this measure deserves your no vote. I don't think it does anything to fix some of the underlying fiscal problems of our state, nor does it make us more friendly to job creation. I would urge a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. DeVore. Ms. Harkey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A question of the author.
Without objection.
Mr. Calderon.
Yes.
When we were in committee, we discussed the understatement penalty and the erroneously claimed refund penalty as being kind of a whipsaw effect, that you were kind of darned if you did and darned if you didn't, and that was the catch here. And I think there were some suggestions as to how to fix that. Did you make any amendments to that?
Well, but the only amendment I did to try and address that issue, and it's really a bogus issue, but what I did is I pretty much exempted most businesses. There's only 50 corporations that this thing will apply to. But on that issue, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have penalty on one side that says if you understate your income and you don't have a reasonable basis, you're going to get penalized. But if you overstate your refund under current law, you don't get penalized, because the penalties now under California law only apply to your understating your income. So this is the other side of the equation. And so you're not damned if you do, damned if you don't cheat.
Well, one more question then. Does federal law have the understatement penalty, or is that just California?
Yes. Federal law does have an understatement.
So federal law has both of these?
Yeah.
So this is all in conformance?
This conforms with federal law. It just doesn't conform with every federal law, and that's always the issue.
Not with every... Okay.
You know.
I think I just got whipsawed. Thanks.
Ms. Yamada.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I rise in support of SB 32. It is a simple, straightforward federal conformity measure that we should act quickly upon to provide home mortgage relief to those who are struggling and at risk of losing their homes. It also addresses some unintended consequences of ARA funding. And really, members, the only people that would stand to lose from this kind of an enactment would be those who underreport their income. So I really think that we are providing a service not only for struggling Californians, but to bring into conformance those who, for whatever reason, may be choosing to understate their revenue. And I respectfully urge an aye vote on those two items, and for those two reasons. Thank you.
Seeing no further debate or discussion, Mr. Calderon, you may close.
Yes, Madam Speaker, members, there's no reason to not support this bill, and every reason to want to be an aye vote on this bill. And in particular, to help people whose homes are being foreclosed on. I didn't mention during my opening statement, but this bill is retroactive to the beginning of the year. So it would help anybody whose home has been foreclosed on this year. And it simply says that we're not going to charge you income tax because $100,000 of your loan to the bank was forgiven because they're not permitted under state law to go after it. And the feds don't do it, and we're not going to do it either. And so I think that's the most important reason to do this. If you don't, here's the choice. I mean, the penalty provision that we're talking about is if you overstate your refund. Maybe I can get 10,000 instead of 7. If they don't catch me, it's money in the bank. If they do, well, then I just file another return. So I guess it's not fair to call those people cheaters, but they are cheating fair and square. And I think that's a better way to state it. So you look at the person whose home has been foreclosed on. There's a $100,000 deficiency between the value of the home and the contract for the bank, and that person gets charged income tax because that's a realization effect, and that's income. And then you have those corporations, and now with the amendments I took, only 50 major corporations are impacted by this bill. And if you don't support this bill, you are choosing those major corporations over small business and over people who need your help right now in terms of their homes being foreclosed on. There's no cover on this. And let me just say one thing, since HSAs was brought up, and it has nothing to do with this bill, but since it was brought up, I've always wanted to ask this question. If we had done HSAs in the past, over the last 10 years, where would those people's accounts be now in today's economy? Where would those people's faith in Wall Street be now? And what kind of insurance benefits would they have now? Now, if you have a reasonable basis for the overstatement, then that's a defense, and reasonable basis is defined under federal regulation. So,
one moment, Mr. Calderon.
All right, in terms of one last point, and I'll close.
That wasn't for you, Mr. Calderon. That was for your colleagues who are being a bit loud. Please continue.
In terms of sending the wrong message to business, well, what about the $6 billion message that we sent last year in terms of tax credits for research, for equipment, for net operating loss, for single sales? What about that $6 billion? Doesn't that count at all? So we're going to give you $6 billion, business. We just don't want you to cheat. That's all we're asking. Just don't overstate your refund. But if it's a complex statement, if it's a complex transaction, and you have a reasonable basis, it was reasonable for you to have overstated, then you won't get penalized under this bill. There is no cover, members, for those who vote against this bill. None. Ask for an aye vote.
That concludes the debate. Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the votes. Ayes 47, noes 27. The measure passes. Mr. Calderon, would you like to request immediate transmittal?
It's immediate transmittal, which, by the way, this House does anyway.
Without objection, then.
So, but I'll say it because we say that now. So I request, you know what? I'm going to take the benefit away from you because you're a volunteer fireman. I request immediate transmittal to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Calderon. Without objection. Members, a few announcements. Rules will meet upon adjournment. The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment. The Assembly Natural Resources Committee will meet Tuesday, March 9th at 1:30 p.m. in room 126, and will hear SB 26 by Pavley pending re-referral of the bill from Local Government Committee. Local Government Committee will meet at 9:30 a.m. in room 126 tomorrow morning. And Water, Parks, and Wildlife will hear Senate Bill 34 in room 437 at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Members, we still have some amendments to take up. We will now recess from our 8th extraordinary session to return to regular session. We have now returned to regular session. Ms. Brownlee, you have permission without reference to file to take up amendments on SB 205. One moment, so we find that. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 205 with amendments by Assemblymember Brownlee.
You may open, Ms. Brownlee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. SB 205 has returned to this floor for some technical amendments. This bill is to authorize federal bond tax credits for school construction. I ask that the bill be amended, sent out to print, and back to file.
Without objection, we can do this on a voice vote. Member, all those in favor signify by aye. Any noes? The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is back to print, out to print, back to file. That concludes our business for today. The session schedule is as follows. Tuesday, March 9th, check-in session. Wednesday, March 10th, check-in session. Thursday, March 11th, floor session at 9:30 a.m. I'm in need of a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hagman moves. Mr. Swanson seconds. We will pass and retain on the consent calendar. The motion is in order. We have concluded business before this House. All those in favor of adjourning signify by aye. The ayes have it. Quorum call is lifted. We are adjourned.